Bingo, and we're live. Coming to you guys directly from Sydney, Australia, and Utah in the United States. Boy, oh boy, can I just say, ladies and gentlemen from around the world, Awakening Point audience, you guys have no idea the forces at work to try to stop this livecast. But in the end, love wins out every time, and we've done it. So, whew. We made it with 1 minute to spare before the link was cancelled again. And we have got a treat for you guys, 2 weeks in the making. We've got Mr. Steve Alexander from Utah in the United States that's going to be joining us on our live cast today. And he's going to be sharing an incredible experience that he had directly, and that's a near-death experience. So today what we're going to do is we're going to explore Steve's personal near-death experience, as well as the phenomena of near-death experiences all around the world that have been recorded for so long now, the common threads in these experiences, which are way, way beyond the point of coincidence. And we're also going to delve into other topics like spirituality, life after death. We're really going to go there with Steve. I'd like to thank the audience for being so patient with us over these last couple of weeks trying to get Steve online. And without further ado, here's Mr. Steve Alexander. Steve, thank you for joining us on the Awakening Point livecast.
Oh, Mike, this has been unbelievable. And just to share with the audience real quick, they will never know what you and I went through to try to make this happen. But I want to say right up front, for those of us who have had NDEs and people that are maybe very much involved in the spiritual world, it's not uncommon for other spiritual beings, let's just say that, or you yourself can affect electronic equipment. So we had so many gremlins going on this end, it was unbelievable. But right now we're on a cell phone, so we can jump right in with the NDE, Mike, or we could talk about other things for a little bit, whatever you want to do, my friend.
Steve, I think a great place to start will be for you to just from your heart, share this experience that you had with us. Let's start with that. And then from there, I'm sure the audience may put some comments and questions up, and we'll just flow from there.
Okay.
You can start this wherever you feel comfortable with, Steve.
Okay, good deal, Mike. One thing I want to say right up front, in life, we're all on our own journey, and we're experiencing many different things. And as you know, Mike, we're on a path, and our growth is something that comes to us sometimes slowly, and sometimes it comes to us rapidly, depending on what happens. But one thing's funny about growth is that the experiences we have in life many times are caused by good judgment. But wisdom in life comes from bad judgment.
So true.
So anyhow, I guess one thing I'd want everybody to know right up front, and this is from my heart because I've been there, I want people to understand that you are not your body. If you can imagine that, you are not your body. You are not your mind. You are not your ego. You are a spiritual being that is having a human experience right now. That's what you are. So I want people to understand as we go along, and if I say anything that does not resonate with you, please just let it go on by. But I want to tell you that I am no expert on anything. I'm not some kind of guru or anything. I'm just a human being that's had experiences just like everybody else, just like Mike, just like you, everyone. The only thing that is different about me is that I had an opportunity to go to the other side and experience things from that realm, from that dimension, whatever people want to call it. It does exist, and I went there. So we were going to be talking about that at great length, about what I saw and what I experienced and what I gained from that. And one thing I want people to really concentrate on is that in this reality here on Earth, there are two predominant forces that control almost everything in our life and everything that happens here. And those forces, one of them is love and the other one is fear. So you can take your life and you can look at it from your experiences And you can say, well, if you look at it close enough, you'll see that almost every emotion you've had, every action you had, many experiences you had were driven by either love or fear. And there's a lot of ways to describe that, but you can think about that for a minute because it's true. Now, I'll give you a little bit of insight on me because of my experience, but I think even when I was a child, an infant, I kind of wondered what was different about me. And sometimes I even wondered, wouldn't my real family ever come back and get me? I had those kind of feelings when I was a child. So my NDE just really reinforced that. I couldn't believe it. And maybe my belief had something to do with that happening. I don't know. There's so many things that we don't know in this human realm. And those experiences, we just can't explain them sometimes. We don't know where they come from, but they hang on to them because they are what is creating your personality and who you are today. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in the southwestern part of the United States. And in that is, there are 4 corner states in America, Mike, where 4 states actually touch each other at exactly the same point. So that's why they're called 4 corners. And those are Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. But I was born in El Paso, Texas, but most of my life I grew up in that area, the states I described. Now, for those who have not been down there or from other countries, it's probably much like the terrain you've seen where you are, Mike. Some of it is deserty. They might have sagebrush or bushes or whatever around. Some of it is mountains and has pine trees. But the area I was living in when I had my NDE was in New Mexico, northern New Mexico, and it has what they call plateaus. So those are mountains that don't come to great big peaks because they're flat on top. That's what that word means. So as a young man, I was running around out there, and I always was a pioneer, adventurer, a discoverer. I was doing all of those things. And I was in what we call a dry wash. Now, the Spanish word for that is arroyo. But everybody that lives in the Southwest, they know what those are, and 99% of the time there's no water in them. It's only when it rains real heavy up in the mountains that you'll see water coming down those. So anyhow, here I was playing in one of those, and I'm walking along down at the bottom and on the bank, which is probably about 10 foot tall, and I'm 12, 13 years old, and being the pioneer that I was, I jumped up to grab a root that was hanging from the top edge of the ledge. And when I grabbed that root, my weight from swinging around acting like Tarzan on that thing was enough to cause it to cave off. So I could feel that it was coming away from the edge, so I dropped back down the ground, but before I could get back, it caved off on me. So for a split second, I'm a terrified young man buried underneath the ground, can't breathe, dark, so dark I was pretty scared. And within 1 second, I popped out in the air. Now, there were 2 other people with me. One was my younger brother and one was a school friend, same age. And they were scared to death. They didn't even know what to do. They couldn't see me. You couldn't see my body was buried. So they're running around wondering what to do. So my brother got so scared that he was going to run back home to get my father to come dig me out. And it was like 1.5 miles back to the house when they had time. And then my friends started yelling at him to come back. Come back. No, we don't have time for that. You got to come help me. And I'm watching all of this, and I'm probably about 15 feet off the ground. Now, I'm in a different form. I'm in a wispy, light blue-green form, but I'm observing all of this. And the thing that is amazing is that my senses were enhanced tremendously. For example, my sight now is multiplied by 100, and I can see in 360 degrees. It's almost like whatever I thought about, I could imagine that and see it, and the colors were unbelievable. Now, I'm still looking at Earth, everything on Earth that I just saw seconds before. So it hadn't changed any of that. But I looked into the sky, and this was after we got home from church on a Sunday. And I don't want to say that I'm a real religious person, because I'm not, because this gave me a different perspective. I looked up in the sky. It's probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I see a very bright light. And I think, my goodness, that's kind of unusual to see a star in broad daylight. So I looked at the star and I thought, okay. So I went back to looking at the people that are trying to rescue my body. They're trying to find it desperately. And these clods that they're trying to get off of me, some of them probably weigh 150 pounds or more. They're huge. And then all kinds of dirt and other debris came down on me. And they're frantically digging with their hand, trying to recover my body. Well, I look back at the light again, and the next thing I know, that light is getting much brighter and it's getting closer to me. And I thought, well, that's very unusual. Very interesting. So I glanced back down at the people trying to dig me out, and the next thing I know, the light is right beside me. And when I saw that, Mike, I got to tell you, I was kind of alarmed, but it was so brilliant. Sparks flying off it, luminous, huge, brilliant. I thought, well, this thing is going to burn me up. And then it spoke to me. And it says, I'm here to help you. Boy, that was a surprise. And the next thing I knew, it reached out and embraced me and brought me into where it was. It brought me into its space. Now, here's the thing that's really amazing. In that space, there are no human words adequate to describe what that felt like. I never have known more peace, joy, happiness. You can use any word you want, and it's multiplied 1,000 times on this, but it's love that you can't even imagine that exists in this earth. You've never seen anything like it. I don't think that in the physical form we're able to express unconditional love like that. So that's pretty profound, but that's what we're all going to see. So this being took me into space and infused into every atom in my body this love. I could have just stayed right there the rest of my existence. But it took off with me in it, and we went out through the cosmos. If you can imagine that. I mean, we went through the nebula, we went around other planets, other universes, the things that you see that the satellites bring back now, the explorers, Apollo space explorers, we went through all of that. And we went for some time, and I was flying along like Superman right with this being, and I'm, my goodness. So we get to a place, we come flying in to a place, and we land on a platform. And on this platform, it has a floor, but it doesn't have any walls or a ceiling. I can still see outer space from there. And also on this platform are 6 very powerful beings, and they're all in white robes with red sashes. Now, the thing that kind of surprised me as we came in is the look on their face. They looked at me like, what are you doing here? Kind of like they were surprised to see me. And they were surprised to see me. So then they start communicating with me telepathically. That this is almost beyond telepathy, because every thought that we have has energy, and that energy is projected out back and forth to everyone. So anything that you think, not only does the word go out, but your emotion and everything else goes out with it. There's no way you could misinterpret what was said. So it fills your whole being, it goes back to them, they understand it completely. Nobody could misconstrue anything. It's not possible. Now they said, well, we're kind of surprised to see you. After a little conversation, they said, well, since you're here, we're going to give you a life review. Now, out in the air, in 3D color, they start projecting my life from the day I was born. And it's going by on a screen really fast. I don't know how long it would take any of us to review our life. You can say, well, my goodness, it probably takes some time to look at every image of every second or every moment of your life. But you're not only are you seeing this image, but you're experiencing it again. And the thing that is so amazing is that as you experience this, it's not only from your perspective, but you get to see how it affected the people that you interacted with. So if you might have said something that was ugly to somebody or something, you get to see how it affected them. It's amazing. So there were parts of that humbled me. I thought, oh my goodness, I wanted to hang my head, thinking of maybe the hurt that I had brought to some other people. And then the person that took me there put his hand on my shoulder again and infused me with love and said, don't worry. And I thought, well, okay, that's pretty interesting, because I was a little bit disappointed about some of the things I saw. So we went through every bit of that. When they were through showing me that, they talked a little bit again, and they talked among each other. And they started telling me, well, you have many things yet to do. It's not your time. You're going to have to go back. And I thought, my goodness, honey, this is amazing. I was very much in awe the whole time. I didn't even know what to say. It was so unbelievable. But they said, no, you're going to have to go back. You have things yet to do. So they said, okay, so the person that brought me there, the spiritual person, picked me back up and took me, and we went back out through the cosmos. Now, one thing that's interesting about being in that realm is that I'd like to share with everybody, there is no time. You think about time in a linear thing like we see here on Earth, it doesn't exist there. It's like you are up above time and you're seeing it from the beginning to the end. You can see the whole thing, if you can imagine that. But time as we know it here on Earth doesn't exist. So they took me back to my body, to where my body was. And the very second we got there, they uncovered my head. The two people there digging for me, they uncovered my head. And the spirit stuck me back in my body. And when he did, I took a breath. Now, still took quite some time for them to uncover the rest of me. I'd say it probably took another 30 minutes for them to dig me out. And when I came out, I was bleeding from the eyes, from the nose, from the ears, from the mouth. I don't know how I kept from being just crushed, my lungs, my ribs, everything. But when they finally got me out, I tried to set up a little bit. And they said, oh my gosh, we were so scared to death, we thought you were dead. I said, well, let me tell you a little story about where I went while you were doing all this and I'm watching you. And they are just absolutely shocked. Well, my brother, when he took off to go get my father, I started speaking to him in a spiritual sense too. And I told him, no, you need to come back and help. And the amazing thing is that he heard me. He recognized that from a spiritual perspective and he came back. So I told him about that also. And I said, I saw exactly where you went. They wanted me to prove. Now, he could have gone in any direction, but I knew exactly where he went. So I took them out and showed them exactly where he stopped and turned around. And they were really dumbfounded then. So the walk back to our house after this experience probably took about an hour, and with very little speaking, because we're all kind of in shock at this point, especially me. And one thing I really want to impress on everybody that's listening is, in this earth realm that we live in, there are two very predominant powers. And those are, the first one is love, and the second one is fear. And if you think about it, everything that's ever happened to you in life has been a derivative of one or the other. You can think about any emotion that you had, normally any action that you've had, how we respond to things. We are reacting out of love or fear to everything that we're experiencing in this life. Now, I want to tell you again, you are not your body. You are not your mind or ego. You are a spirit that's having a human experience. I'll leave it there for a minute, Mike.
Steve, you mentioned a couple of times in you sharing this experience with us about a spiritual person that was with you the whole time when you were going through your life review and you felt some shame and you wanted to bow your head when you saw and felt some things that you did that you felt, oh wow, that wasn't very nice of me. And you said that this spiritual person put their hand on your shoulder and said, don't worry, it's okay. Can you tell us a little bit about this spiritual person?
Yeah, I'll be happy to, Mike. Some people, they don't want to talk about religious things, it kind of turns them off. But I don't have any problem with this because there's no question in my mind. The person that met me in the air, the person who took me there, the person that infused me with unconditional love was Jesus Christ. There's no question in my mind. Now, I did not see his face. I can't swear to you I saw his face. But there was no question to me that it was Jesus. Now, even people of the Islam faith, many of them encounter Jesus also. So it's not an uncommon thing. But people will tell you, well, anybody that's had an NDE, what they encounter or what they see has to do with their culture or what they've been taught as far as religion or whatever. But I don't believe that had anything to do with it, Mike. I honestly don't.
When you say you don't believe that had anything to do with it, like what do you mean by that? Let's go into that a little bit more. Okay.
What I mean is I don't believe that religion had anything to do with the things I experienced and the things I saw, and the fact that it was Jesus Christ. I don't believe my religious upbringing had anything to do with that. One other thing I'll say is when I was in heaven, not one person asked me what church I attended or what religion I belonged to. So I believe whatever religion you are following that's leading you closer to your Creator, that's the one I'd encourage you to continue to follow until you grow spiritually. So I'm not going to say that this religion is right or that religion is right, but I will testify to you that it was Jesus Christ I encountered.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate you, sharing this so humbly and so honestly with us, Steve. I know that sometimes just as a society we can trip over a little bit over words, concepts, especially religious ideas. And one thing that I've really tried my very best with the Awakening Point is to really share with our audience just the absolute raw data with them, and leaving the doubts, fears and hang-ups to them. So I appreciate you really going there and sharing this with us. Now I've got a question from Joe Fox. He's asking you, Steve, did you feel the need to actually see Jesus's face?
No, I did not. And it actually was so brilliant that I could have seen his face, Joe. It was so brilliant, it was unbelievable. But the love that he infused in me, there was no question to me that it was Jesus.
Wow. So, Joe, Steve, there is so many common threads within the near-death experience. What you have shared with us is like classic near-death experience material. There is so many points there that so many people from around the world have shared during a similar experience. Now, you yourself, you were 12 or 13 in this situation. You had like a mini cliff face totally caving in on top of you, like crushed you. You mentioned that you were bleeding from the mouth, the eyes, the nose, the ears. You couldn't, hardly breathe. You were fully crushed under this thing. And yet you were fully conscious outside of your body, and there's no questioning this. You are 100%. I was literally out of my body. It's a fascinating thing. Steve, how did that experience mold the man that you are right now, sitting here sharing this with us?
Okay, Mike, let me say you are absolutely correct about what you just said. And the thing that is so amazing is what I saw and what I experienced. Well, let me just go into this about how it's molded me. My NDE gave me an experience to see the other realm. Now, I see that as a blessing because most people in this life who think, and I'm not saying everybody here on this page is, most of the people on your side are pretty spiritual. But the majority of the population of the world, at least in America, I'll say that, they don't have a clue that they are not their body. They think they are their body. They identify with everything that is their body. Everything they experience in their life is their body. It's their experiences. But I'm here to tell you that your brain is a processor that's processing things. And your ego is driving you because of many of the experiences you've had, either from your culture or your religion or government. And we can go into things that have controlled us, kind of like sheep in life. But that's a different night and a different story. But I tell you, it is very real how we've been programmed in this life to be like that. And it is a control mechanism that they've used on every one of us. And it's not who we are. And so many people are waking up today to realize that that is not who they are. They're coming out of the hypnosis or whatever you want to call it. So many people are waking up. I don't know if it's a shift in the world or what it is. But I'm delighted to see it because the first 30 years of my life, after having this experience, I couldn't talk to anybody about it because they thought I was crazy. I even tried to talk to a pastor and he told me, well, your experience is either of the devil or drug induced. Now here I am, a kid. It couldn't have been either one of those. I mean, it was ridiculous, but that's what he told me. And the thing's kind of surprising about many religious people is they want to say, well, we believe in the Trinity. We believe in God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, but let's don't talk about spiritual things. No, let's don't go there. It makes no sense to me. Anyhow, this experience has, I think it was already pretty much a spirit created to love. It's kind of amazing because I have always loved people and interacting with them. In fact, Mike, I don't think I know a stranger. I don't think I've ever met a stranger. If you can imagine that, I've never met one. So the experience I had, though, made me a mega empath. I mean, from that day forward, I looked at everything from a love perspective. Now, I'm a human being, so I make mistakes. I made mistakes going down the road of life and learning, just like everyone else. But in learning those things, it still was coming from the heart. I knew there was no question from what I saw that there's only love. Now, here's something else that I just thought of that I need to remind everybody. Now, on the other side, in heaven, that's what I mean by the other side, there's only one condition there, and that condition is love. Can you imagine that? Of everything that could be in this universe, love is it. Nothing else could exist for this reason, because everything you think, everything you feel, is expressed out, like I told you, through energy to everybody else. So here on earth, we can wear a mask and hide who we are. We can hide behind that mask and we can hide our emotions, we can hide our feelings, we can hide who we are. We can hide everything about our life if we want to, be somebody different. But over there, you cannot. So that's the difference between being there and being here. In this earth plane, you can hide who you are. And this again is because of love and fear. And we wear those masks. On the other side, you will see none of that. In the universe, outside in the universe, from my experience anyhow, the only thing you're going to see is love. Powerful love, unconditional love. For everything and everyone, it's unbelievable.
Steve, we've got a question from Rabina Dinsa in Canada. Rabina's asking you, Steve, were the other spirits you met your spirit guides or your spirit team? And how has this experience changed your life thereafter?
Okay, that's a good question, Mike. Because when I came into this, I first thought, well, my goodness, these men, and they all had white robes and gray hair, and they appeared to me to be some of the wisest people I'd ever seen in my life. I thought, well, my goodness, I must have showed up at the Supreme Court. But I didn't know. You know, I still was in awe. But these people were powerful people, and they had a lot of wisdom. It was unbelievable. Now, some people would say, well, that was your soul family, or was this or that or whatever. That I don't know. I can't swear to that. I'll just say they were very powerful, intelligent, wise people.
Steve, you mentioned that this happened during a time where things may not have been as open as what they are now when it comes to exploring the realms or existence outside of this realm, exploring states of consciousness, etc., that are beyond this one. So as a young man, just beginning your teens, to have gone through this experience during a time where things were a lot more closed off than what they are now. You mentioned that you went to see somebody who you looked up to as a spiritual mentor, like the priest, and he basically said to you, look, what you saw was evil, or you're on drugs. Walking away from that experience, at the age that you were, after experiencing this near-death experience, how did you cope with that response from a spiritual mentor? And then how did you deal with this, say for the first decade after it happened, just in your ordinary day of life?
Okay, good question, Mike. First, I would say that in the beginning, I thought, my goodness, this was such a powerful experience. Why did I have it? Why do I have this knowledge? I couldn't understand that. Are there other people on earth that have experienced the same thing? In the beginning, I could find none. And just like the man that I encountered who told me what he did, I thought, well, this is so surprising, but it didn't alter my attitude about what I experienced one bit. You cannot take that away from me. Even if you threatened to kill me, I would not change. It's not possible. It's that real to me. There's no question. So it was a very lonely life, let's say for 30 years, because I thought, okay, there's no other people in the world that even understand us. None. Then I read a book by Betty Eady that's called Embraced by the Light. And I was absolutely dumbfounded. Now, many of your listeners may have heard that also. And this is a woman who's a Native American who wrote a book about the same thing I experienced. You know, it's all different. It's from different perspectives because we are different people. We have different thoughts and experiences, and that affects who we are. But she wrote this book. And boy, it really touched me. I thought, well, I'm going to start doing more study about this. And then I read a book by a man named George Ritchie. And he's Dr. George Ritchie, who was in the military. And he was in training. And he went to a barracks where he was going to be shipped out to medical school. And he got pneumonia. So they took him and put him in wherever, they take sick people. So while he was there, he died. He actually died. They came in and pronounced him dead. They put the sheet over him and they took him down to the morgue. But he came back to life, and he wrote a book about what he saw, and I would encourage everybody to read this book. It's real small, easy to read, and it's called Return from Tomorrow. And in this book, this man talks about the different realms that he went to, that his guide took him to see things where people, because of conditioning in their life, they would go to places in the spirit world where you might get locked into the same behavior that you had, if you had that. Now, I didn't see any of this, but he tells it very vividly, and it's amazing. So, for instance, if you were an alcoholic, Mike, you, in the spirit world, you wouldn't want to go on. You want to stay in this realm, and there's many different realms and dimensions now. I'll testify to that. Anyhow, some spirits will stay in this realm, and they'll wait for the opportunity for somebody to get so drunk in the physical form that it opens up a hole in your aura. Now, when that happens, these spirits can jump in there, jump into your body, and feel the same experience that you're experiencing. So there's many spiritual things that are going around us at all time. So I read many other books, and it's only been, I'll say, in the last 10 or 15 years that the NDE concept has really caught on and come out. Now, there are people that are involved with it that are trying to make a name for themselves, so to speak. A person that's had an NDE can spot a fake in a second. It's almost like you speak a sacred language, Mike, that other people that are back here, you search for those words that you know to be true, but you can't speak them because you can't even remember them. But They're powerful words. The meaning is unbelievable. But anyhow, that's the kind of language that we're going to have. But it affected my life forever. Go ahead, Mike.
So what you were just touching on there, Steve, is that while you're there, you understand these words, you understand this otherworldly wisdom, but when you come back, it's like you can't make sense of it or explain it in this world. Is that what you were referring to there?
Yes, sir. Absolutely right, Mike. And that sometimes I think the body is the veil, or things that are around our planet are a veil that prevents us from seeing those things. Now, all the things I know, I'll share this with everybody too. Everybody has this capability within them. We have forgotten it. And much of it has been suppressed about the things we talked about earlier, about conditioning and culture and government and religion. Those things that we know to be true, that when we were a baby and we came here, we still had that knowledge. You can go inside right now, every one of you, and have the same knowledge. Now, the spoken words I'm talking about, I don't know, we can bring that back up. You're going to have to be more powerful than me to do that. But every one of us have the capacity to do the things I'm talking about in a spiritual sense, because that is who you are. You are spirit. You're not your mind or body, or definitely not your ego.
Steve, I want to ask you just another question here. Rabina's asking you, what guidance can you share to those who have a fear of death? Perhaps if they dissolve that fear and understand that we chose this life and all of its characters, we would all be kinder to each other.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. What a fantastic question that is. Let me tell you, death is nothing more than stepping out of the vehicle, which is your body, that you ride around in daily. That's how scary death is, and that's how painful it is. I can remember looking down at my body. Of course, I couldn't see it. It was under the dirt. But I looked, and one of the things that really surprised me was that I didn't have any empathy for it. And the reason I didn't, because it was not me. It was nothing more than the vehicle that I'd been riding around in. So when we die, we are exactly the same person we were 1 second before. It is your consciousness who is who you are. It is not your body. It's not that important to you. Our body here is to experience this realm and this life. And the most important thing to learn while you're here is love. Number one is love. That's all you're going to see on the other side, so you might as well practice it now. That's all you'll see. And we've forgotten that because we have this fear factor here.
Steve, I want to ask you a question about darker forces. We hear quite often about the light. We hear quite often about the incredible unconditional love that's experienced. I want to ask you, looking at our realm right now, looking at our planet, looking at where we are from a zoomed out perspective in 2018, is it your opinion that there are darker forces that manipulate what goes on here in this realm?
Oh man, Mike, what a question. That is another, like I was saying, that is another story for another night. But let me say this. There are other spiritual realms, and some of those realms, now I did not see evil things. Fortunately, my experience was fantastic, amazing, and filled with love. But I do believe that in other realms, and some of them are very close to us, they're like a few feet away from us, and the people are evil spirits, evil, whatever you want to call them, evil beings, are trying to affect our mind and our heart. They're trying to lead us astray. They don't want us to understand this. There's all kinds of conditions in this world that are affecting us and trying to push us down. But many people now are waking up from that and coming the other direction. It is such a joy to me to see it happen, and to be talking to you now about it. I wouldn't have dreamed of ever being able to do that 10 years ago.
And have you shared this experience of yours, this NDE, publicly before, or is this the first time you're kind of sharing it openly on a open platform?
This is it, Mike. This is number one. But my whole life I've wondered what I was going to do with this, because I knew that I needed to say something. Some people that you encounter when you share an NDE with them, it shocks their reality so much that some of them are put off, some are rebuffed, some don't know what to think, some of them are amazed, some of them start smiling, some of them start crying. It all depends on how it resonates with them and every one of us in our life. One thing I'll say is, no matter what information you're trying to share with someone else, that person can only receive it if they're on the same wavelength, or if they can receive it, they're able to receive it, they can understand it. Otherwise, it's going to go right over the top of their head, or it could affect them in many different ways.
Now, you're talking about vibrations and things like that, key frequencies, like going to a higher frequency. Talk to us about energy and vibration, the importance of staying on a high vibration is a question that Rabina's asking us now.
Okay, if you speak to, and I know everybody will recognize this, if you speak to someone, you can almost sense what kind of spirit they have. Now, that is something else that we have suppressed, but you can still sense it. You can look at their body language, whether they're smiling or their eyes. If you look really close at their eyes, sometimes you can see all the way into their spirit. So that's the kind of connection that you look for and trying to tell the story to anyone. And it is amazing the different responses that you'll get.
What do you think when people speak about vibrations, like low vibrations, high vibrations, moving to a state of higher vibration, in as far as love and fear goes, what's your opinion on these metaphors of low vibrations, high vibrations, and so on?
Okay, the low vibrations are dense. They're almost like material, like this world. They're very dense. Even Einstein said everything is energy. And the higher the vibration you can get, if we could get high enough, we would, with love now, that's the goal that we're searching for, is that kind of vibration to get to that point. Sometimes I wonder, I don't know for sure, but I wonder if we ever got to that point, if we would just take off. I think we can get there. I'm not sure how in a human form, but I sure would like to learn how, and that's what I'm working on. And that's what I want to project to everyone else. The higher the vibration you can have, the happier you're going to be in life. And it's all about how you think about it. Again, this is how powerful thoughts are. You're totally controlling that based on what you think. It's the input coming to you, and that's what you're going to project back out. So be very careful about your thoughts. And the more you think about positive things in life, and love especially, that's what you're going to project back out. And it's like the ripple effect. That's what you're going to get back.
So we're talking manifestation here. What's inside, manifesting it into the 3D density, into this dimension. Steve, I want to ask you something that I've been thinking about virtually the whole time that you've been speaking and sharing this experience and your knowledge with us. I was taken aback by your humility instantly when we first connected, you and I. That's why I wanted to put you on the show, because it's something that I respect greatly. I really do. It's a superpower. It's such a superpower that I'm only just kind of learning the implications of how beautiful this is for manifesting love, living a good life. Your smile right now is saying it all. Now, you obviously, during this NDE that you experienced, you took something, even from a 12 or 13-year-old, you learned something beyond what many of us don't even learn that in a lifetime. And that what you've carried back with you has helped you develop a beautiful humility about you. Very, very disarming. You're an open book. You're so confident and happy in who you are. You seem to have let go of all of the bells and whistles, all of the monkey mirrors and stuff that distract us as people. And you are sharing your beautiful heart with us so freely and without, this journey in this life, it takes so much to become humble like that. I want to ask you, do you feel that the NDE helped you to stay focused on the heart instead of being distracted by all the things that distract us in society?
Oh, absolutely, Mike. Excellent question again. My NDE gave me the opportunity to see things, just like you said, that the average person will never see. And I'm humbled by that. I don't blame anybody for saying, well, I don't really know about that. But it shocks me when people say, well, I just don't believe that. That really is kind of a slap in the face. You can't expect us to believe that or what. So yes, it humbled me to know the truth about love. Love in the universe is the only power out there. And it's amazing that our Creator, who created the universe, is love. I mean, that just boggles my mind. So my whole life has been filled not only seeking that kind of love in my life, but trying to project that kind of love in my life. I don't want anything other than that. And the higher that I can get and the better I can get at that, and the more that I can walk in gratitude and humility and love towards everybody that I see, the happier I am. I almost, when I see people now, I want to just smile. I want to say something to them and tell them about, do you realize what a magnificent, powerful being you really are? You're going to be shocked when you get there. People are going to be welcoming you back. This is such an awesome opportunity. Wake up, please. We don't have to live like this. This is crazy. And this has all been conditions that have been put on us. We don't have to live this way. I'm absolutely confident about that, Mike. And that is my mission in life now.
Do you think that all of these things that you're discussing now, that you've just shared with us just now, do you think that that's all part of the test, the reason why we're here, the limitation of our incredible power, where we're this incredibly infinite, almost beautiful, loving spirit, and then we're limited into this body, with all these crazy emotions and like jealousy and hatred and anger and do you think that that's part of the whole test of learning love by going through this sort of stuff?
Oh, absolutely, Mike. And the thing that kind of angers me sometimes, I don't want to have that kind of emotion, but I think about the powers, and we can call those powers government, religion, culture, race, whatever you want to call it. Those things have affected the reality that we see here on Earth. I don't know that this reality that we see today has always been here, but we can step outside of it. We absolutely, every one of us can. We see so much hate and division. That is all created by fear. How much of it is really even real? It's unbelievable, but there's no question in my mind, Mike, that it was used as a control mechanism on us humans while here. It was put in place to control us. And it's kind of been like brainwashing, it's conditioning, hypnosis, whatever you want to call it. And it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. They figured this out and they learned how through these things we can control the population. Now, many people are waking up from that again. They see that that is not the truth.
Belinda Wallace is asking a pretty good question here. She's saying that Having had an NDE herself and healing connections in spirit and many other experiences, she sometimes struggles to fit in to this earth plane. She's asking you, Steve, how do you cope with this?
Oh, Mike, sometimes it's so frustrating because you have so much love that you want to project out to the world. I'm almost driven by that, brother. I want to project that to everybody. I want to share what I know. I want them to know what I know. That's how important it is. I want them to understand what I'm talking about. I can understand you saying, well, I don't understand, but I'm here to help you understand. And it takes time. If anything I say does not resonate with anybody, please, don't take my word for it, study it. But please, go study it. But we all have this capability, and it is in us. We can all, if we'll go inward and look at our spirit and start thinking about that, instead of looking at our hands and looking at our face and looking at our wallet and looking at other things in life that we think are important, which mean nothing. The only thing that you'll take with you when you leave this earth are the memories that you created or had while you were here. That's it. Nothing else is important. And the thing, like I told you, that are going to be so important are those things that you did and loved. Because when you have your life review, when you see those things, you're going to be thrilled. It's going to mean so much to you.
Steve, where do you see the next year or two? In as far as, let's go back to your NDE. You were told that you still had so much to do. That's why you had to come back. They didn't even give you the choice. In so many NDEs, the human involved in it is sometimes given a choice, like, do you want to stay here with me or do you want to go back? You weren't given that choice. You were told, no, you can't stay here. You're going to have to go back because there's still a lot for you to do. Now, you mentioned that this is the first time that you've shared this experience, this knowledge on a wide platform. A lot of people are going to see this over the coming weeks and months. So for you, do you feel that you are now ready to impart your own special wisdom to the world?
Well, up until this point, Mike, I have given that so much consideration. And I've almost been on a mission to go around and share love and share my story with everybody that I meet. And it didn't make any difference whether it's in the grocery store or my neighbor walking by, if you can imagine that. That's how obsessed I am with it. Now, I always wondered my whole life since then, well, what is my purpose? Okay, if I got a purpose and I got many other things to do, what do I need to do? So I wonder on what level do I need to go, Mike, just like you're asking. What level do I need to go to next? Because I'm on a journey just like you are, and I know you totally understand that because you are too. What is my next step? I've thought about writing a book. You can see that I'm not afraid to speak out and tell my story. It is the absolute truth. I'm not afraid to say it. So I don't care what platform I'm on. I'm not afraid to say it. Now, I'm also a member of IANS, and that stands for International Association of Near-Death Study. And I would recommend that for anybody who wants to do any research on this. You can go to that site, and they have thousands of NDEs that you can read through. But in big cities, they have an organization where you can go and meet with them once a month. And that's where I will be Friday night at the one here locally. They're going to have a powerful speaker there who talks about NDEs and children. There are so many powerful people out there, Mike, that are speaking out right now. Sometimes I wonder, I feel like I'm one of them, I'm their brother. I'm part of the family. And if I was going to go anywhere, that's where I'll be. I'll be associated with IANS and a national network. What that entails, I don't know. I'm definitely going to find out because I'm on a mission to tell this story and share it with everybody I can before I go.
Ultimately, this is hard work. Ultimately, this is your purpose opening up, and it's kind of twofold. Number one, that you are offering personal experience, direct experience in sharing with the world that this is not it. And then number two, that whilst we're here in preparation of the crossover, that love is so very, very important in our everyday life, in every decision, in every moment. And that's the best preparation that we can have for that moment where we leave. I get that strongly from you. What are your thoughts on that, Steve?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Mike. I don't know I could have put it any better. We might as well start practicing it. We've been conditioned to not believe this. And we've been conditioned about those things that we talked about earlier. That's a whole different segment of your show one day. I know we could spend hours talking about that and the truth of that, but there's no question in my mind that that is what has happened. It has suppressed love and the things that we know to be true. Our spirit knows that. Everybody's spirit knows that. We got to wake up and realize and take off this veil that has been put on us, the programming, all of it that came with all this conditioning, and realize that that's not who we are. And we all can do it.
Steve, you're using words here like conditioning, programming. You even use the word it. When you use the word it, in the sense of it has put a veil over us, it, what do you mean by it?
The it that I'm referring to, Mike, is a great big powerful force. And somewhere down throughout history, let's say, whether it was Egypt, you can think of whether it was the Sumerians, whoever it was in the first class of races, the pharaohs, the high priest, they realized that if we could put this in people's mind, that we can kind of control them, and that has a benefit to us. That's what I mean by the it. Now, the it still is going on because it is coming to us through government, controlled by many very powerful, rich people, billionaires who think that they run the whole system. We can call that the deep state. We can call it many things. But people are waking up to that too. You can especially see it in America, Mike. It is very prominent right now. There's so much division in America. Anyhow, the majority of the population of America is waking up and realize they have been controlled. They've been controlled by our government.
Steve, I just want to take a second to remind the audience, because I've got a lot of comments stacking up here. Guys, with your comments, try to keep them as short as you can, because with the long comments, they cover the whole screen. They'll cover Steve's head, and when people watch it later on, it's distracting. So let's keep the comments shorter. There's a few of you that have got long comments that are piling up. If I can ask you to reword those comments just in a shorter format, and I'll put them up on the screen for you. Now, Steve, I want to stay on this. I want to stay on this thread now with what you're, talking about with governments, with organized religions. We spoke about back in history, whether it's with the Sumerians, whether it's with the pharaohs of Egypt, who seem to have been the first ones that did this on a mass scale. But we even see hints and traces of this even going back to regions of Turkey with Göbekli Tepe that go back to the Younger Dryas period, where we had this big deluge, this big flood, caused by either a comet strike or sun activity that raised the sea levels, that covered so many ancient civilizations on coastal areas that many people refer to as lost civilization, lost knowledge. Atlantis comes from this. All these concepts that I personally, Steve, used to laugh at, many years ago, but I'm not laughing anymore. Science is catching up to this ancient wisdom that has been lost. Now, I suppose what I'm getting at here is, do you feel that these darker forces that are attempting to manipulate and control us, do you feel that there's some sort of dark knowledge that has been passed down through all that time that's there, as well as the good stuff, as well as the light knowledge? Is there a kind of good and evil, a yin and yang, a light and dark essence, whether it's angels, archons, whatever words we want to use? Let's not get tripped up in words and culture and symbols. Let's keep it broad for everyone here. Is there that kind of interference going on here on the earth plane?
Absolutely, Mike, and it's been going on throughout history. Another excellent example is the Romans. Now, we can look at what the Romans did to Egypt. We can look at what the Romans did to the Christians. We can look at, and I don't want to get off in religion, but if you follow the Bible, you can remember when Paul was a persecutor of Christians. First, his name was Saul. Saul was a persecutor of Christians. Then he got struck by light, and he had, as far as I'm concerned, he had an NDE, and it changed his life. He became Paul, and even when Jesus told Peter, I'm going to build my church upon you. So he goes back to Rome, and he's going to build the church. Well, Paul didn't appreciate that at all, because he reverted right back to the same things that the Jews have been teaching all along, and incorporated into the new religion so we can affect people that way. So there's many examples of how that has happened. Another thing I'll share with you, and this just comes to mind, in the Bible, when they talk about Moses, and he went on the mount to get the 10 Commandments, and he walks up on top of the mount and he sees a burning bush. And a voice came to him and said, Moses, you are on holy ground. You need to take off your shoes. Well, that wasn't a burning bush that Moses saw. That was God. There's no question it was God. He spoke to him. He said, take off your shoes. But that's why the bush was not consumed. And when people write history, they write it in a relevance that they can understand. And that they couldn't understand a God concept at that time, speaking to a man. So they wrote it as a burning bush. But I'm telling you, it was God speaking to him in form, in a spiritual form, in light. And it turned his hair gray when he went back down. If you look on the face of God, God told him, don't look at me. If you look on the face of the God, you might be burned. I don't know. Now I'll get off that. I don't want to get into religion.
No, that's fine. That's fine. The Awakening Point is an open book. You know, I mean, we need to tackle the topics as they are, and try not to avoid them. You know, I like to get into open, raw discussions with our speakers. I want to ask you, Steve, you talk about the burning bush, you talk about God, using those words. In your own personal experience, when you saw and felt the light, you mentioned that during your NDE, there was a light, and then it started to get closer to you until it was actually right there. And then it kind of enveloped you, it invited you in. You went into the actual light, and then in that kind of cocoon or bubble or light, you then traversed the universe. So tell us what you think that light is. Do you feel that light is God?
What I know it to be, Mike, is every one of us are in energy form, just like Einstein said. Energy is something that you cannot destroy. Now, you can take any material thing and you can change it, but energy you cannot. It's still energy, no matter what form it comes in. It's like water is a solid that you can touch, you can take a bath with it, but actually it's air. It's H2O, but you put them together and it becomes water. That's how powerful energy is. We can create things with it. But anything that is material is not of that. But the spirit that I saw in energy form, and that's what we all are, was unbelievably powerful. It was a powerful energy. That's what gave it its brilliance. And as a spirit form, when we get back, we are going to be dumbfounded, Mike, at what a brilliant spiritual form we are, and everybody's glad to see us.
Steve, Chris is asking you a question here. Chris is a very dear friend of mine here in Australia, and he's asking a pretty good one here. So it's a bit of a long question. He just snuck it in with the length. Chris is asking, could your purpose be to bring another soul into this world and guide them into a place that they can achieve a higher resonance than yourself? Isn't our purpose to guide us all into a higher resonance collectively?
Mike, I think it is every one of our purposes to do that very thing. Every one of us. Every one of us are a spiritual being having a human experience. When we realize that, we are not our body. We are a spiritual being having a human experience. That is every one of our purposes when we get right down to it. That is every one of our goals. And I fully believe that if the person can receive what I'm saying, even if they don't understand it, they're going to, at some point, because I'm planting the seed, at some point they're either going to do some study, or they're finally the light's going to come on and they're going to go, you know what? That is truly amazing, because that resonates with me. It rings true. There's so much truth to that. And, the things that have been put on us to hold us down are not true.
So, Steve, a few of the books that I've read in reference to, spirituality and stuff like that, My Big Toe in particular by Tom Campbell, Tom speaks about each one of us making incremental decisions, and those decisions that we make, whether they're love-based or fear-based decisions, affect the entire larger consciousness system. In other words, every time that we make a love-based decision, we reduce chaos and we bring more order to the world. His exact words are entropy, reducing entropy, but I don't want to confuse the audience. Do you feel that each one of us, every time we make a decision in real time, say we may make 1,000 of these decisions in a day, but every time we make a loving decision, that it helps the collective system, all the souls in the world. And every time we make a fear-based decision, that it kind of like brings the whole system just down a notch. Do you feel there's something to that?
Oh, absolutely, Mike. That's absolutely true. If we make fear-based decisions, we're not just affecting us. We are affecting the whole. Out. And that's what you're going to get back. Are you still there, Mike?
I am here. It just blanked out, but it blanked back on. Can you hear me, Steve? Hopefully we're good to continue. You still with us there, Steve? Be interesting to see from the audience if we're beaming live still for you guys. Are you guys getting this? How's that, Steve? No? Okay, let's see. Seems like the connection is lost. I can still see Steve on my screen, but yep, okay, Joe's saying that, Mike, you're still good. David's saying that he can see Steve. Yeah, everyone's saying they can see us, and I can see on my platform everything is fine. Let me send Steve a message through Facebook. Steve, try clicking out and clicking back in with the the same link. Okay, guys, I've just sent Steve a message. And hopefully he'll get that message where he can click out and click back in using the same link. Steve, can you hear us? Guys, while Steve is clicking back in, I just want to share with you just this freaky situation that has occurred with getting Steve on this livecast. The amount of technical gremlins that have been going on has been absolutely incredible, and it's kind of like freaking me out a little bit. Now it looks like we got him back. Steve, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, Mike. Let me share something with you real quick.
Yep.
This is not an uncommon thing among people who've had an NDE. I don't know if it's our own energy level which affects electronics, or it's other energy that are trying to affect what we're trying to share. That is not an uncommon thing, Mike. I know it boggles the mind, and it's so frustrating. Every time I fall off, I get so dadgum upset. But it's not uncommon, Mike. I don't know how but hallelujah, here we are again.
Yes, we're still rolling. We are still rolling. We won't be needed.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, great stuff. So I've made some points here, Steve. I've had a bit of time, last week we couldn't get you on with all the gremlins and stuff that popped up. So that gave me an extra week to do a little bit of research into NDEs. And some of the incredible information that seems to be very, very common is, floating above the body, experiencing a white light, and that white light even giving off the sense of heat in many, many cases. A wonderful feeling. So even though the body had gone through trauma just before the NDE, instantly during the NDE, it's just a wonderful feeling of well-being. Everything's okay. Don't worry, it's going to be fine. Some sort of a comfort figure, whether it's Jesus or whether it's a grandma that had recently passed, or just someone that brings comfort to the person, and then takes them away to another place where a life review happens. And then after that life review, there's either a choice given of whether to stay or go back, or the person is told it's not your time yet, you've still got so much to do. You really shouldn't be here, so you need to go back. And most people in that situation are like, we go back kicking and screaming. They don't want to go back, they want to stay there. And then what we see is, for those who return back to this realm, that there is a fundamental shift in their consciousness. And that shift is basically what you keep saying to us, that we're not a human being having a spiritual experience. We are spirits having a human experience. And that shift really sets a new path in their life where the material world is no longer fundamental. Consciousness is now fundamental. And love and the heart dominates existence. These are the important things. They see through the masquerade. They see through the veil of material objects and money and status and all of these things that distract us for so long, that take us decades to get our heads around. This NDE experience seems to put them right on the path. What are your own personal feelings towards all this, having been through an NDE yourself?
Well, the first thing is, we're all still in a human form, so to speak, Mike, even though I didn't have anybody to talk to about my experience. So even though I knew it was absolutely true and nobody could take it from me, I didn't know all this about spirituality. Nobody could tell me, I'm a young kid. I don't know any of this. So I'm going through life still wondering. But one thing that is very important about on the other side, since everything is thought transfer, communication is through thought. Here on earth, it's not that way. We have these other things that affect our body. On the other side, we do not have a body, so we don't have a physical form. It is a spiritual form made up of energy. So I think one reason we come here is so we can experience things in this realm. We chose to come here. It wasn't by accident. We made this decision before we were ever in our mother's womb that this is what we were going to do. And I think that even through our soul family, we made an alliance with people and said, this is going to be my purpose. These are going to be the things I'm going to learn as I go through this experience. And they come into our life and help us. Sometimes they're not good, but we still have to, if they did something to us that was bad, we have to forgive them, because you have to give them credit for following through on what they did and caused you the pain and agony that you had, because that's a powerful learning experience too. It's all about learning. It's all about remembering again about love. We can only experience these things while they're in the physical form. Everything is expressed to you on the other side, just bam, right to you in an energy form, all knowing, and it's through your atoms. It infuses you. There's no misunderstanding. But we have to learn everything as a human. So we go through all the emotions of that and everything. But once we learn to no longer be affected by those, that's when we start stepping up. That's when we can walk out with our head up high and say, you know what? None of this is going to affect me, because I know the truth as I go down the road of life. None of this will affect me.
Ray Fiala has just asked an incredible question. This is the bomb. Steve, since your near-death experience, have you tried to induce the experience again through meditation or astral projection?
No, I wish I could do it again. The closest thing I've come to thinking about maybe doing that, I've meditated a lot. I've not got back to that point. Now, many people claim that they do. It's not happened for me. I would be so thrilled to have another NDE so I can go through the life review again, because what I want to experience is, okay, did I learn anything, first of all? And when I see my life again from that point forward and everybody else is looking at it, did I learn anything? Will my life be different the next life review? And one other point I forgot to mention to everybody is, during the life review, the person that is judging you is you. There is nobody else judging you. There is no judgment. The people that I was with, not one of them was judging my life. It was my life experience for me to judge and to learn something from that. They didn't put any condemnation on me. That is amazing.
Steve, I've got some within the Awakening Point community and the greater circle. We've got some very, very knowledgeable and experienced astral projectors that can show people how to have an out-of-body experience. I personally, have followed their instructions, and it works. It's real. I will put you in touch with some of these people, so that way, if it's something that you want to look into and bring that practice into your life, we can facilitate that with some very, very good people within our community. I feel that this platform is more than anything about bringing people together, sharing knowledge, sharing our hearts with each other, and yes, I will certainly put you in touch with those people. We have a few other questions here.
Let me say something real quick, Mike.
Sure.
Okay. Now, I know about DBT and ayahuasca, if that's the correct pronunciation of that word. It is a drug down in South America, and people go there and they take that drug, and they believe that they have an NDE, an experience outside of themselves. Yeah, I've done a lot of study on that, and the drug DBT, I believe that's correct.
A DMT.
DMT, okay.
Yes.
DMT,
Yes.
where are those? I've not taken drugs in my life, so it kind of, it just, not that I would say I would never do that, but I don't know. I would love to have another NDE. But here's what I think about the difference between a psychedelic-induced NDE or a out-of-body experience or an STE, spiritual transformation experience, whatever you want to call it, astral projection. You're not actually leaving your body. Your spirit is still there, but your mind is experiencing these things. Your consciousness is experiencing these things. Now, maybe the difference is, and I don't know for sure, Mike, is when you have a true NDE like I did, you no longer any part of your body. There's no question in your mind about that. You are gone from your body. So the experiences you're having no longer have anything to do with something that your mind's going to conjure up or something you've been conditioned to believe or whatever. This is truly your spirit outside there experiencing this. So I don't know. I mean, I can't testify to that. I will try anything, but I'd love to have another NDE. I would.
Yes. What we're talking about here is a non-induced experience, like a meditative experience.
Okay.
There are some wonderful teachers, Yuri Zaritsky, Greg Doyle here in Australia. We've got Todd Akamesis in the UK. Tom Campbell over in the United States. There are some wonderful teachers. Everyone that I've just mentioned, we're talking about non-substance out-of-body experiences here.
Okay.
Not to say that I am against things like DMT experiences, ayahuasca. I'm not at all. I'm open to both sides of the argument here. In my opinion, there is no argument. But yes, when it comes to psychedelics, a person does have to come to the table well prepared, and open to the fact that there are dark forces within all of us that we have to confront. And sometimes the psychedelic experience catapults us in a way where we arrive somewhere that we may not be prepared for fully. So people that do use psychedelics honestly do need to be prepared for that, where the non-psychedelic use, the practitioner has time to work through these things and arrive at that same place far better prepared. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But what we're talking about here, Steve, is a non-substance thing. I would never ever, put something forward to anyone in that way, live on a live cast. That in any way, induced by any kind of drug, whether natural or synthetic or whatever. This is
Mike, please
pure
understand.
spiritual practice.
Yeah, I'm not condemning anybody that goes that route. I was just trying to share with you the difference I've seen between going that route versus a true NDE. And that's the way I look at it, because you're not in your body when you have an NDE. Nothing is associated with your body. And ayahuasca, I know it makes many people just deadly ill. That's part of the experience. So in addition to the things they experience when they're out there in the spiritual realm. So I'm just apprehensive about that, but I have considered the DMT just so I could have another NDE. And let me tell you one other thing I did do. The things that I saw during my life review that were alarming to me, and I know that they were things that I saw that I did to other people and how they felt about it. Can you hear me all right, Mike?
I can. I certainly can.
Okay. I wanted to do what's called past life regression. So I have many contacts myself, either that are very spiritual people who are hypnotists. And they can hypnotize you even on the screen. So I had a very good friend who was going to hypnotize me and take me through a past life regression. So I could go back to that same point. That's what I wanted to see. And see what it was that I saw that humbled me. But in attempting to do that, I don't know if it's my spirit or my aura or the energy around me. We got about 3/4 of the way through that and it just stopped. He said he felt that there were some powers that were shutting it down.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's, yeah. But that's one thing I've always wanted to do. Their past life regression, in between life regression, that's pretty phenomenal too.
Yes,
Once you go before you come back.
Yeah, Natalie's just put a question up. She's mentioning QHHT session, special form of quantum hypnosis that take you through past life regression and death. I think that's Dolores. I can't remember her surname, but she's quite a famous lady that, has been doing this kind of stuff since the 60s. So I think that's what Natalie's referring to there. Natalie, maybe you can get in touch with Steve after the livecast and send him a link to Dolores's work.
What's funny is I looked at a YouTube video just this week about a woman who was talking about physics and the outside world of the matrix, all of it. And boy, it made a lot of sense, my friend. I can't think of that lady's name either, but sometimes it's a man's voice that they try to use when they're making these shows. But this lady, as far as I'm concerned, she's right on the money. Quantum physics is it, I think, Mike. It's true.
I think so too. And for those people who are familiar with Tom Campbell's experiments that he's currently setting up, he's got a whole range of experiments, like evolved versions of the double slit experiment that, if he's found correct, could actually show evidence that we're living in a virtual reality. This is deep stuff. This is really going into these matrix concepts, the fact that, what we're in here in this lifetime, that it's all happening within consciousness, that these are realities inside of consciousness, that we're just switching data streams, into different states, that we can call places, but, to learn, to evolve, to become love. It sure makes sense to me.
Mike, you're absolutely correct. I agree with you totally, my friend. That is absolutely correct. I think that we are projecting these things that we see. I think there's going to come a time, they can already do projections where they can make something appear in front of you. It's like Avatar, It's not even real, but you'll think that it's real. That capability is probably with us right now. They can bring that energy and create just like you saw on Star Trek. They can beam me up, Scotty, and here comes your little sparkles and it turns into you. But it's amazing. No, it is all about quantum physics. Yes. Your friend's he's on the right page.
Yes, definitely. Look, I'm going to invite you into the MBT group. And I may even send you a copy of my big toe, of the actual book. I think you will really, really love it, Steve. And just being part of that community, it changed my life. In all honesty, that's what actually triggered my meltdown. If we want to call it like an awakening, we can call it an awakening in nice terms. But the truth is, it was a meltdown for me, because this kind of knowledge, the way that Tom puts it forward, and it really made me snap out of my coma. And of course, it was such a shocking awakening. I was so full of shit, within myself, my own ego. It was truly a very, very difficult experience that happened to me about 18 months ago, but it changed my life. So I'm happy to introduce you to that community as well. I'm sure that they'd love to connect with you.
Excellent, Mike. Thank you. Your friend Tom Campbell is absolutely correct. I agree with him totally.
He's an absolute beautiful person. I had the privilege of sitting down and having dinner with Tom, as well as Donna and Keith, his managers that manage him. I'm actually going in January to the UK to do an immersive experience with Tom, where I'll get to see our good friends Donna, Keith, and so many of our other MBT friends. So for sure, I will put you in touch with the crew there, Steve.
Mike, I'm gonna meet you one of these days. This is gonna be incredible.
Oh,
and
Steve,
when we
this
get
is given.
and we get together, sparks are liable to fly, brother.
Yes, well, Trace and I are looking at doing a tour of the United States later in 2019, in the second half of next year. We're going to do a tour and catch up with all of our friends that we've met on these live casts and their families and our extended best friends and family in the United States. We've got so many over there. So second half of next year, Trace and I will definitely be doing a tour where we catch up with all of you guys, and we can't wait for it.
Mike, well, you already know where I live.
Yes.
It won't be hard for you to find me. You better come see me.
Yes. I've
Come
been there
stay with
before. I had the pleasure
Oh,
of
man.
going to Utah. What a beautiful part of the world.
Oh, thank you. We probably won't get any sleep. We'll be just sitting around talking all the time.
That's right. Our good friend Allison over there in Miami in the United States is urging everyone to go onto the retreat in England, January 20th. She's going to be joining us over there in the UK. It's in a 700-year-old castle where we're going to have an immersive experience and learn about out-of-body experiences and all of this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean,
awesome.
If you're free next January, Steve, come with us.
Well, I'll have to look at that, my friend. That would be incredible.
Yeah, I'll send you the details.
Listen, neither one of us right now know where we are on this journey, but we know that we're on a journey. And we know that this journey is nothing like the journey we've been on, maybe a little earlier in our life. Something really big is happening. Now, I'm excited about it. The things you talk about, let's do it. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to learn everything I can before I go back. And the more knowledge I can share with people who can receive it while I'm here, I'm just thrilled to death if I can do that.
You know, your humility and heart shines through the screen. I'm not even there with you. I'm half a world away, literally. I'm like a 17, 18-hour flight at like 800 kilometers an hour away from you, yet seeing your face, your smile, your energy over the screen, I just feel like going over there and giving you a hug and sitting down and, So that's definitely going to happen. We're definitely going to experience that together, sit down and talk about all these beautiful things, and hopefully have a few other friends that are in the local area that can get together and catch up.
I don't know, Mike. I don't know if I want to come over there. They got crocodiles and black mamas and things like that.
We do. That goes without saying. Everything kills you over here.
I'd love to. I think I told you once before, I don't know why, but my spirit was driven to move to Australia. It was. I have no idea what.
You're saying this, yeah.
Yeah. I'd be thrilled to death to go there.
We got lots of good things coming up, Steve. We got lots of good things coming up. We've got a retreat coming up here in Australia next year. We've got a conference that we're working on, an international conference in the United States, where we're going to get all the people together, all of us good folks that are on this journey, who walk hand in hand with each other and who know each other digitally, but we'll create an opportunity where we can all get together and speak our hearts on the stage and share it with everyone over like a week. We're working on making this a reality over there in the United States as well as here in Australia. So for everyone that's been on the Awakening Point livecast, for all of our friends that constantly join us live, and just for this beautiful connection that we all have with each other, we're going to take it a step further than just making it digital. And we really are going to make this happen in real life, so we can all get together and spread the love, because that's what this is all really about.
Oh, yeah. That's true, Mike. Absolutely correct. That's what it's all about. And what's funny is when you see this, you experience it like you're talking about right now. We're thousands of miles away, but I can tell that you're speaking from your heart too. See, those are the special little words that you speak that a person that is on that level, they resonate with it so much they absolutely know it to be true. You cannot deny it. Even if you don't understand it, you got to be saying, there's something about that. And then whatever they got, that's something I want to experience too if I can. Now, I'm telling you from my own heart, everything I shared with you is true. But I'm not a guru. I'm no special person or whatever. I'm just sharing the love that it was given to me. And that's my purpose in this life.
Joe Fox is asking us, please go over the 2 books Steve mentioned in the beginning of the livecast. Steve, do you remember those 2 books that you mentioned that you were saying a must read?
Yes, I do. And let me say this first. If anybody wants to do any spiritual study, there's 2 people that really resonate with me, and their names are, I try to think of that's what's happening when you try to think of. One of them is Eckhart Tolle, Tolley. Eckhart
Very
Tolle.
famous. Yep.
And the other one's name is Rupert Spira. So you can look at, they have YouTube videos. Please look those up. Just spend a little bit of time doing that. Now,
Wonderful,
the 2 books that I refer to, and I read thousands of them now. There are so many famous people now. Dr. Moody is the one that coined the word NDE. Now, he's a neurosurgeon. Now, he had a fantastic NDE where his brain was shut down from meningitis that started eating his brain up. There's no way that he could, they didn't even expect him to live. They wondered from minute to minute why he was even still alive, but he wrote a book himself. So Dr. Raymond Moody. Another one is Eben Alexander. But the 2 names I used in the beginning, Embraced by the Light, is Betty Eadie. And the other one, Return from Tomorrow, small little book, but powerful, is by Dr. George Ritchie.
So we've got Embraced by the Light.
Yes.
And what was the author's name again?
Betty Eadie.
Okay,
EDD, I believe that's the last name. Betty Eadie.
And the second book, what was the title of that?
Return from Tomorrow.
Return from... Well, I'm just putting that up on the screen for people. Okay.
Okay, let me share one of the movies that maybe...
Who was the author from Return from Tomorrow?
Dr. George Ritchie.
There we go, folks. All done.
Let me tell you about 2 movies that would really be powerful for people to watch. Maybe some of them have seen them. And one of them is What Dreams May Come. And Robin Williams star in that one.
Great film.
Oh my goodness, you talk about a powerful NDE, and they made a powerful movie out of that.
Yes.
The other movie is The Shack.
Oh God, yes. The Shack, my favorite film ever.
Oh my goodness. If you want to, kind of get a feel for what it's all about now, in The Shack, the man went and met God.
Yeah.
Of course, he was at first it was a black woman was God. Now, God can be anything.
Yes.
The next time it was a Native American guy.
That's right.
So, anyhow, we don't want to get too locked down on things that we, beliefs that we have, because there's a lot of things we just don't know, but The Shack was amazing.
Now, Steve, you run quite a large group on Facebook. I want to give people the opportunity to come and visit you and become members of your group. So I'm just going to put that up on the screen. Can you tell us the name of your Facebook group?
The name of the group, Mike, is Friends Who Appreciate Life and Each Other.
I'm going to put that on the screen for everyone. I myself am a member of the group, so is Trace, and A lot of people from the Awakening Point are also in there, friends who appreciate life and each other. Steve is actually the founder of this group, and it's growing so fast. So we urge you to pop in and say hello to Steve in the group there. It's a beautiful group with a wonderful, heartfelt message. And I can tell you, Steve, that the Awakening Point is happy to walk side by side with your beautiful group, as well as you, of course.
Oh, thank you, Mike. And likewise to your group that you just put me into. And it was a great honor to be among you. This is a fantastic journey. I just love it. You know, we talk about what we're going to do on our life's journey down the road. I don't care what it is. I'm just so excited every day that I wake up still hearing another opportunity to live in gratitude and share love.
So now that we're on the topic of gratitude and love, is there a final message that you've got for our audience where we can wrap up today's livecast until the next one?
Okay. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are not your body, your mind, or your ego. Please understand that. That is not who you are. You've been conditioned to believe that that is who you are. And many factors have affected that condition to cause that belief in you. You truly are a spiritual being having a human experience. It is amazing. When more of us wake up and realize that fact, the world's going to come together. And it's all about love. I can't express that enough, Mike. It's all about love. And the more you practice it here, the more you radiate it out, and it radiates back. It's the ripple effect that goes out and comes back to you too. And it's that collective consciousness that we're going to see. We're creating it little bit by bit, and you're doing it too, Mike. We're creating that, and the more that we do that, the more we're going to see of it. Because it is our thoughts that are controlling the things that we see. It's that powerful. It is an energy force. So be careful what you think. Try to not think any negative thoughts. Walk in gratitude and love down the road of life.
Mr. Steve Alexander, what an absolute blessing and a joy it's been to share a couple of hours with you live. We overcame all of the gremlins to make this happen, and it's been absolutely wonderful. I know the audience is enjoying this so much, and all of the people who will watch this over the coming days, weeks and months are just going to be so happy to see you on their screens.
Oh, Mike, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I sure appreciate you, brother.
Well, we will connect a little while after the live cast, and I will put you in touch with all of the rest of our friends. And I hope that you get a big influx of new members into your beautiful group on Facebook. And I look forward to further walking down this beautiful journey with you, Steve, where we can exchange, wisdom, heartfelt, positive vibes in bringing this message to the world in our work. Thank you so much for joining us, Steve.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me.